to survive.
The governor's race is a national stage. Playtime is over.
I feel sorry for your mother.
Andy was going for the fence all the way.
What you say about my mama?
After serving Hollywood's sentence for 30 years, Larenz Tate is finally walking away. At 17, he gave the performance of a lifetime as O-Dog, and Hollywood immediately locked him in a cage.
I think I'm undervalued in Hollywood. And I think a lot of black folks are undervalued.
He proved he could do romance, drama, and everything in between, but was still systematically erased by an industry that never valued him.
I felt like my truth was being with directors who understood me, who trusted me, and we did not have to do things to make Middle America feel comfortable.
Now at 49, he's finally saying goodbye to accepting less than he's worth, and Hollywood's about to learn what it lost. So let's get into it. Larenz Tate was born on September 8, 1975, in Chicago, Illinois, to Larry and Peggy Tate. He was the youngest of 3 brothers, Laren and Lamard being his older siblings, in a tight-knit family that prioritized education, discipline, and creative expression.
And what do you guys wish for your brother in the future? He's already like, an icon to us in the black community, What do y'all wish him? What do y'all think of him? Because he y'all brother.
Yeah.
It's different for y'all probably.
No, it's, he's our brother, like you said, but in the business standpoint, what we look for is him to continue to rise.
Larry Tate worked as a businessman, while Peggy was a homemaker who took an active role in nurturing her son's talents and interests. The Tate household in Chicago was structured and supportive, with parents who believed their black sons needed to be excellent just to be considered equal in America. They emphasized academics, manners, and the importance of presenting themselves with dignity in a world that would judge them harshly. When Larenz was young, the family relocated from Chicago to California, settling in the suburbs of Los Angeles, where opportunities in entertainment were more accessible.
I just felt that it was time for me to kind of share a little bit more about who I am, my experiences, both coming from Chicago and also being raised in both Chicago and Los Angeles.
The move was strategic. Larry and Peggy recognized that their sons had charisma and talent that could translate into acting careers if properly cultivated. California, in the early 1980s, was experiencing a boom in television production, and there was growing demand for young black actors as networks began slowly diversifying their programming. The Tate brothers were enrolled in acting classes at the Inner City Cultural Center, a community arts organization in Los Angeles that provided training for young people of color who wanted to pursue careers in entertainment. The Inner City Cultural Center was more than just acting classes. It was a safe space where black children could explore creativity without the microaggressions and limitations they faced in predominantly white schools and programs. Larenz and his brothers learned technique, audition skills, and the business side of entertainment from instructors who understood the specific challenges black actors faced in Hollywood. The training was rigorous and professional, treating even child students as serious artists rather than cute props. Larenz showed particular aptitude, displaying natural charisma and an ability to access emotions that went beyond his years. By age 9, Larenz had booked his first professional acting job, appearing in a 1985 episode of the television series The New Twilight Zone. The experience of being on a professional set, taking direction from adult directors, and seeing himself on television was formative. He wasn't just playing, he was working, contributing to his family's income, and proving that the investment in acting training was paying off. Throughout the late 1980s, Larenz accumulated television credits on shows like 21 Jump Street and Family Matters, building experience and a resume that would serve him well as he transitioned from child actor to teenager.
Come on, fight!
The Tate family's approach to their sons' careers was protective and strategic. Larry and Peggy made sure the boys stayed in school, maintained good grades, and didn't let Hollywood success inflate their egos or compromise their values. They were raising black men, not just actors, and they understood that the industry would chew them up if they weren't grounded. Larenz later credited his parents for keeping him humble and focused during years when many child actors were being exploited, developing addictions, or losing their money to mismanagement. The foundation his parents built, discipline, family loyalty, education, and self-respect, would become essential as Larenz entered an industry designed to devalue and discard black talent. In 1993, at just 17 years old, Larenz Tate landed the role that would define his early career and typecast him for years to come. He was cast as Kevin "O-Dog" Anderson in Menace the Stew Society, the Hughes brothers' directorial debut about life in South Central Los Angeles during the crack epidemic. O-Dog was a psychopathic teenager, quick to violence and completely desensitized to death, representing the most extreme product of systemic poverty and community destruction.
I told you to open the damn register. Damn, go! Open this shit.
The role required Larenz to embody rage, recklessness, and a complete absence of empathy, qualities far removed from his actual personality and upbringing. The film's opening scene, where O-Dog murders a Korean store owner and his wife over a perceived slight before stealing the surveillance tape and showing it to friends as entertainment, was shocking in its brutality and became one of cinema's most memorable depictions of casual violence.
What the fuck you say about my mama?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
You talking shit. Every time I come.
Lorenz's performance was chillingly authentic, so convincing that audiences assumed he was drawing from personal experience rather than pure acting skill. The film premiered at the Cannes Film Festival and received critical acclaim for its unflinching portrayal of urban violence and the social conditions that created it. Menace 2. Society became a cultural phenomenon, particularly within black communities where the film's themes resonated with lived experiences. At 18, Larenz Tate was suddenly famous, recognized on streets, offered roles in other urban crime dramas, and celebrated as one of Hollywood's most talented young actors. But the fame came with immediate typecasting. Casting directors and agents saw him as the thug, the gangbanger, the threatening black man, not as a versatile actor capable of playing diverse roles. He was offered variations of O-Dog repeatedly, roles that required him to be violent, criminal, and menacing. For a young actor trying to build a career, turning down work was risky, but accepting these roles meant reinforcing a limiting image that could define him permanently. Larenz made strategic choices to diversify his resume, taking roles that showed range beyond the hood films that dominated 1990s black cinema. He appeared in The Inkwell in 1994, playing a middle-class teenager dealing with coming-of-age issues during a family vacation in Martha's Vineyard.
Hi, I gotta go.
Yeah, I have to go too.
The film showcased black excellence, professional families, and teenage experiences that had nothing to do with gangs or violence. He also appeared in Dead Presidents in 1995, another Hughes brothers film. But this one explored black veterans returning from Vietnam and turning to crime out of economic desperation rather than nihilistic violence. The role allowed him to show emotional depth and complexity. But it was his 1997 role as Darius Lovehall in Love Jones that proved Larenz Tate was more than just O-Dog. Love Jones was a romantic drama about two young black professionals navigating love, art, and ambition in Chicago. Larenz played a poet and photographer, sensitive, thoughtful, and emotionally vulnerable in ways that contradicted every stereotype Hollywood had about black men. His chemistry with co-star Nia Long was electric, and the film became a cult classic that defined black romance for a generation. The movie's aesthetic, jazz clubs, poetry readings, intellectual conversations, stylish fashion, presented black life as sophisticated and complex rather than reducible to poverty and violence. Love Jones should have launched Larenz into leading man status across genres, romantic comedies, dramas, action films. But Hollywood's inability to see black actors as versatile meant the opportunities didn't materialize the way they should have. He continued working steadily through the late 1990s and early 2000s in films like Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Love Come Down, and A Man Apart. But the trajectory had plateaued.
As in, I cried when I realized I didn't have your phone number.
He was respected, talented, and proven at the box office, yet he wasn't getting the diversity of roles or the compensation that white actors with similar credentials received. By the mid-2000s, Larenz Tate was experiencing what many talented black American actors face: the industry's systematic devaluation of their work and the preference for black British actors who were perceived as more marketable, less threatening, and more palatable to white audiences. Larenz became vocal about this disparity, publicly stating that black American actors were less valued in Hollywood compared to black British actors.
Every day as a people, we work twice as hard to get, twice as less as our counterparts, right? And that being said, it is the same way. We're not valued the way I believe we're supposed to be valued.
His comments sparked intense debate within the industry and black communities about authenticity, representation, and the economics of casting decisions. Larenz's willingness to speak publicly about these dynamics cost him professionally. Hollywood doesn't reward actors who call out its racism, and speaking truth about systemic bias made him seem difficult or bitter rather than justifiably frustrated. Opportunities continued to dry up, and Larenz found himself in a career lull through much of the 2000s and early 2010s. He appeared in television shows like Rescue Me and House of Lies, took supporting roles in films, and stayed working. But he wasn't leading major projects or receiving the industry respect his talent deserved. In 2014, Larenz faced public embarrassment when American Express sued him for an alleged unpaid credit card bill of approximately $57,000. The lawsuit raised questions about his financial management and suggested that despite decades of steady work, he wasn't as financially secure as his resume would imply. The entertainment industry is notoriously exploitative of actors, particularly black actors, who often don't receive back-end deals, profit participation, or the kind of compensation that builds generational wealth. Larenz's financial troubles reflected a broader pattern where black actors work constantly, but don't accumulate wealth proportional to their contributions. In 2014, the same year as his financial troubles, Larenz received an offer that would revitalize his career, but also crystallize everything wrong with Hollywood's treatment of black talent. He was approached to join the cast of Power, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson's crime drama on Starz about a New York drug dealer trying to go legitimate. The role was Councilman Larenz Tate, a corrupt politician with ambitions for higher office. The character was complex, morally ambiguous, and would become central to the show's plot over multiple seasons. It was exactly the kind of meaty role that could remind audiences of Larenz's range and talent. But when Larenz saw the initial offer, he was insulted. The money was, in his own words, literally peanuts, far below what an actor of his experience and stature should command. His agents advised him to turn it down, arguing that accepting such low pay would set a precedent and devalue his worth for future negotiations. Larenz understood their reasoning, but he also recognized something his agents didn't. Power was going to be culturally significant, regardless of network budgets, and being part of it mattered more than the initial paycheck. He accepted the role despite the insultingly low compensation because he believed in the project's potential impact. Larenz's instincts proved correct. Power became a massive hit, one of Starz' most successful series ever, spawning multiple spin-offs and making 50 Cent a television mogul. Councilman Larenz Tate became a fan-favorite character, with Larenz delivering a performance that showcased his ability to be charming, ruthless, vulnerable, and calculating often within the same scene. The role reminded the industry and audiences that Larenz Tate was a phenomenal actor who had been underutilized for years. His work on Power led to him being cast in the spin-off Power Book 2, Ghost, where Larenz Tate's political ambitions took center stage.
The governor's race is a national stage. Playtime is over.
The success vindicated Larenz's decision to accept Peanuts initially, but it also highlighted the exploitation black actors face. He had to work for far less than his worth to prove his worth, a catch-22 that white actors rarely encounter. And while Power elevated his profile, it didn't fundamentally change Hollywood's valuation of black American actors. The industry's message remained clear. Be grateful for whatever opportunities you're given. Don't complain about compensation or representation, and understand that you're replaceable. Larenz has also been candid about other aspects of his life that challenge traditional expectations. In interviews, he revealed that he and his wife Thomasina sometimes sleep in separate rooms to reduce stress and maintain their relationship's health. The admission generated tabloid commentary and judgment from people who saw separate bedrooms as evidence of marital problems, rather than a mature couple making choices that work for them.
On the Breakfast Club, you said something about the fact that you and your wife sleep in separate bedrooms, different rooms. Now, the headlines were all over the place, about it. So do you want to clarify those comments right here?
That's so funny. I finally made it to the gossip blog.
Larenz's willingness to be honest about his marriage, his career frustrations, and his views on the industry showed a man who was done performing respectability for public consumption. For years, fans have pressured Larenz about a Love Jones sequel, hoping to recapture the magic of the original film. He has repeatedly stated he's tired of being asked about it and believes that trying to recreate that lightning in a bottle would likely disappoint everyone. The ongoing demands for the sequel reflect how audiences often want artists to repeat past successes rather than supporting their evolution and new creative directions. While Larenz Tate doesn't personally suffer from sickle cell disease, he has become one of the condition's most prominent advocates through the Tate Brothers Foundation, which he founded with his brothers Laren and Lamard. Their advocacy work is deeply personal, stemming from their mother Peggy's battle with complications related to sickle cell disease. Peggy Tate's health struggles and eventual passing profoundly impacted her sons, who watched her endure pain, hospitalizations, and the inadequate medical attention that many sickle cell patients, particularly black patients, receive in a healthcare system marked by racism and neglect. Larenz has spoken about how his mother's experience with sickle cell disease shaped his understanding of healthcare disparities and systemic racism in medicine. The emotional weight of losing their mother and watching her suffer has left lasting effects on all three Tate brothers. Larenz has discussed grief, survivor's guilt, and the ways witnessing chronic illness affects family members' mental health. The advocacy work is both a tribute to their mother and a way to process the helplessness they felt watching her battle a disease that medical research has historically neglected because it predominantly affects black people. By using his celebrity platform to bring attention to sickle cell disease, Larenz is ensuring that his mother's suffering wasn't in vain and that future patients might receive better care than she did. As of 2025, Larenz Tate is 49 years old, still working steadily in film and television, and using his platform to advocate for causes that matter to him beyond entertainment. he continues his role in the power universe, maintains his sickle cell advocacy through the Tate Brothers Foundation, and speaks openly about Hollywood's treatment of black actors. But the sentence he's serving, the one he's finally saying goodbye to, isn't about literal prison or even career struggles. It's about the psychological prison of accepting Hollywood's valuation of his worth, the limiting beliefs that told him he should be grateful for peanuts, and the industry's attempts to confine him to narrow representations of black masculinity. The final goodbye Larenz is saying is to the version of himself that stayed quiet about injustice, that accepted roles and compensation beneath his value, and that performed respectability to make white executives comfortable. In recent interviews and public statements, Larenz has been increasingly candid about his frustrations with the industry, his awareness of how systemic racism has limited his opportunities, and his refusal to pretend everything is fine when black actors continue to be undervalued and replaced. This honesty may cost him work, but at 49, with decades of experience and a body of work that speaks for itself, Larenz has decided that integrity matters more than Hollywood's approval. His legacy is already secure. Menace II. Society remains a landmark of black cinema, cited by filmmakers and critics as one of the most honest depictions of how systemic poverty and racism create violence. Love Jones is taught in film schools and celebrated as one of the great romantic films, proving that black love stories can be sophisticated, artistic, and commercially successful. His work on Power introduced him to a new generation who had never seen his earlier films, ensuring his relevance beyond nostalgia. And his advocacy for sickle cell awareness has brought visibility to a disease that medical research has criminally neglected. But beyond the resume and accolades, Larenz Tate represents something important. A black actor who has navigated Hollywood's racism with dignity, spoken truth when silence would have been safer, and refused to let the industry's limitations define his sense of self. The goodbye he's saying is to accepting less than he deserves, to performing gratitude for exploitation, and to allowing Hollywood to sentence him to a career defined by their prejudices rather than his talent. At 49, Larenz Tate is free from that sentence, and that freedom might be his greatest achievement yet. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.